Good day to all the learners watching this DVD. Today we are going to complete our series of helping the grade 12 learners that aim to get a level A or level 7 symbol for the end of the year. The last part that we're going to look at is human impact on the environment. Now, human impact on the environment, if we look at the question papers, at the setup of the question papers, then we will see that this is the last part of paper 1. Eh? But we will also see that human impact, it says here grade 11. So that means human impact is the work that you have done in grade 11. And you will see 17% of that is from human impact, and that gives me a total of 25 marks. So it's quite a lot of marks, quite a high contribution of marks for a paper. So sometimes we found that teachers did not complete this part in grade 11, or if they have completed this in grade 11, they also do not repeat this in grade 12. So for that reason, if you look at Mind the Gap, which I was talking about all the time, you will see that human impact is very nicely summarized in Mind the Gap. Now, if we look at Mind the Gap content, you will see, I just want to page quickly through, you can see it is quite a lot of detail work. Ne? So to help you to understand how this work is put together, I want to help you by helping you to draw a mind map of the work. Just before we go to the mind map, if we look at the exam guideline, they say in human impact, so we found 25 marks out of this, we must do atmosphere and climate change, we must do water ability, we must do water quality, food security, loss of biodiversity, and waste disposal. Ne? So this is all in human impact. So let's see what is expected of us to know. So firstly, it said to us, if we do human impact, if we learn human impact, the first thing that we must look at, the first topic, is atmospheric, the atmosphere, and climate change. So what must I know here? Firstly, I must know what influence the atmosphere and what leads to climate change. And that will be the destruction of the ozone layer, because of carbon dioxide that is in. So firstly, what influences the atmosphere? So firstly, it's the concentration of carbon dioxide, which increases the greenhouse gases, the greenhouse gases. So that is, and that leads to that is the first thing I must know. What influences it? Then secondly, what is used is asked in the question papers. In all the question papers that you can go through and look at, they ask corrective measures. Ne? What will we do, or what can we do to avoid that factors? Okay? So that is the first one that we're going to do. The second one, the second topic, is all about water. Now, if we look at water, the examination guideline asks us to look at two different things of water. The first one is we must look at the availability of water. And the secondly is we must look at the quality of water. And if we look at the Bill of Rights in South Africa, the Bill of Rights talk about both of these things. The Bill of Rights says that every person in South Africa must have water available and that it must be of good quality. So firstly, what will I do? I will first know what makes water available and how can we make it available. So usually it is in rivers, and in dams. What consequences is there if we pollute the water? What will happen if the water is not, pollution goes there? But what will happen if we shut down rivers, we build dams and water cannot go through? So what corrective measures will we do for water availability? Then water quality. Quality means that the water must be drinkable for human and animals. So what has influenced the quality? The main thing that influences the quality is pollution. So you must know what causes pollutions, like fabrics that produce things, humans that litter, waste that go into, all the pollutions that you can find. And then also you need to know the corrective measures. Right? So that is what we need to know there. Then human impact, this is the second thing. The third one we must know is we must talk about food security. What is food security? What does it mean? Food security means that we have enough healthy food at any given time in our life. So food security does not only mean enough food. It does not only mean enough food, it also means balanced, balanced or healthy food. And the moment that we look at this, then we can immediately also see that our poor in South Africa, the poor in South Africa, is not in a food security zone because they don't have balanced diet. They usually live on carbohydrates. So this is a very important topic for us. And then also, what corrective measurements or what measurements can we do to make sure that food security is in line. Then the fourth topic that the syllabus says that we must do is we must do the loss of biodiversity, the loss of biodiversity, okay, the loss of biodiversity, okay. So the loss of biodiversity, that is any natural organism that disappear from Earth because of human impact. So firstly, we need to know what human impact lead to the loss of biodiversity, like destroying of land, pollution, all of that, overuse or disuse, overuse of plants, overuse of animals, leads to loss of biodiversity. Then here, what is interesting, and this is important for you as level 7 candidates, is here we must know the consequences. What is the consequences of the loss of biodiversity? You must know it in two ways. The first way is, what is the consequences for humans? What is the consequences for humans? And the second one, what is the consequences for nature? For instance, for humans, we will lose food. But for nature, it will destroy food chains. And if food chains is destroyed, the whole balance of the nature is disrupted. For humans, it means a loss of income. Because if there's lesser plants to sell and lesser animals to sell, to eat, it's a loss of income, loss of job opportunities. So be very clear that when you look at the questions, whether they ask the impact on humans or whether they ask the consequences on nature, and then in both of them, we must again know the consequences. And then lastly, the last one that the syllabus asks us to look at, number 5, is waste disposal. Because we are drowning in waste, a lot of all these problems, a lot of loss of biodiversity, food security is due to waste disposal. food security can in a big way be prevented if we look at how we deal with waste, because we can recycle. So the important parts in waste recycle is the 3 R's: recycle, reduce, and reuse. Okay, and reuse. Now the best way to explain to you how to prepare for this is that you must go and make a mind map and use Mind the Gap to fill up your mind map into these 5 sections. And in each section, make sure that you know a definition of what it is, what causes is, and what is corrective measures, because that is the content that will be recorded. But now let's look at questions. This is more the application questions. Okay, this is more the application questions that is in question papers, and a few of this is straight direct level A questions. Let's look, for instance, this question. The Human Research Council, the Human Research Council conducted a survey on food security across the provinces. The results show that the overall percentage of first secured households in South Africa is 45%, opposed to 48% in 2008. The results indicating the presence of food insecure households in each province according to the latest. So let's look at the questions. What is meant by food security? So if I go back to the mind map, I'll go back to our mind map that we will draw. What is food security? We must know the definition. What is the definition? Okay. Use the data in the table to draw a bar graph. Remember, in all the questions, or not all the papers, but in at least one paper, either paper 1 or paper 2, you will get a graph to draw. So make sure that you know the skills to draw a graph. I think for you as level 7s, this is almost automatically. Just make sure that your X and Y label is correctly, that your spacing is correctly, and that your headings is correctly. Okay. Now we come to more interpretive questions or more difficult questions. It says, state how the use of fertilizers can increase food security. So now you must know food security means that there must be enough food for everyone during all times. So how will fertilizers increase food security? It will increase food security because we will get better crops if we use fertilizers. How will it decrease food security? Because too much fertilizers can cause that it gets into the groundwater, and then we can get that it influence other algae grow, and that it destroy natural habitat. And the next one is because of use of fertilizers, food gets more expensive, because it costs more to produce the food, and so for the poor, they can't afford the food. So this is 2 reasons why. State how the use of pesticides by farmers can increase food security, because I can create a more healthy crop, destroy food security, because if I use too much pesticides, it will destroy the predators that feed on the pests, and if they are destroyed at the long term, the pests will become more and less food will be produced. So at the end, it have a bad negative. State 2 factors other than the use of fertilizers and pesticides which have led to a decrease in the percentage of food security. So now you see all of these questions is interpretive questions. All of these questions you must think about. So here we will say the high rate of unemployment, the fact that South Africa radical increase in population size, Farmers sell their farms. They don't want to farm anymore. We have droughts. We have we have periods of drought and extreme heat. So any one of them will include it. So can you see? You must know what is the issue talked about, né? Then what factors increases that factors, and how can we better the factors? Okay. Let's look at this one. This one says popular dams is a biological desert. Nee? Now it talks about in Hartbeespoort Dam is situated in a residential area in the northwest province. Unfortunately, it is rapidly becoming a biological desert due to pollution by 2.7 million people living in the surrounded area, as well as 720 megaliters of treated sewage flowing into the dam. The inflow of treated sewage increases the amount of phosphates, and this reduces the biodiversity. So let's just look at what the questions is. Ne? What is meant by biological desert? Ne? So from there you must deduct higher cognitive that this is the decrease of biodiversity. Explain why increased phosphate levels cause a decrease. Now here you must know algae bloom, which you will find described in Mind the Gap. Explain how the reduction in biodiversity can affect the ecological balance. So look here, the effect of biodiversity. Do you remember I said when we look at the effect of biodiversity, it can either be for nature or for humans. Here it is specifically for humans. Okay, here it is for humans. It says the length of food chains will be reduced, or complexity of food webs will be reduced. This organisms feeding on the remaining species. This leads to overexploitation. So be sure that you express it. So this is according to nature. What effect does it have on nature, and what is meant by biological control, which you will find in there. So environmental studies is really not difficult in the way that it is asked in the question papers, because it gives you quite a lot of information, but you need to know what is done by the information. Another question, the table below shows that carbon dioxide emissions, so this have to do with atmosphere and climate change. So it gives you, draw a pie chart. Again, you can see the chart that you must draw. Explain the impact of increased carbon dioxide on the environment. Not on humans, on the environment. So make very sure, this is the catch. This is where we separate between level B and A candidates. Level A candidates will write the impact on you, on just the impact of increased carbon dioxide. But you as level B and level C, level A candidates, you must know what is it on the environment. That it is what is. And then each country have been given a mandate to reduce the carbon dioxide emissions in a certain target. Explain 2 reasons why some countries are against reducing carbon dioxide emissions. Because carbon dioxide emissions directly link to rich countries. So the more rich a country is, the more carbon dioxide they release. Because the more machinery they use, the more fridges they have in homes, the more heaters they have in homes, so the more carbon dioxide is released. So why will they be against it? Because it will lower their level of there. Okay, so very important to know this one. Another one, just on carbon dioxide concentration. The carbon dioxide concentration in the atmosphere was recorded as this. Describe how deforestation, remember I said that you must know everything that contribute to carbon dioxide emissions. Nee? Now deforestation, if we remove trees, we make more CO2 in the air because more oxygen, trees cannot transfer carbon dioxide to oxygen. One other impact of deforestation, right? It destroys habitats. Explain why we should be concerned about the high rising carbon dioxide levels. So that it leads to temperature changes, and that leads to the greenhouse effect. So all in that first one. And 3.4 suggests one way in which the government can reduce carbon dioxide emissions caused by the generation of electricity. Okay? So here we can see how we can reduce it by using alternative ways, not fossil fuels. So here you can see what is our precautions, how can we prevent this, or what corrective measurements can we take. Okay, so environmental study, not a lot of studying work. It seems like a lot if you for the first time glance at it, but it's not that big. It has the 5 parts. Unfortunately, this part was not well prescribed in textbooks. That's why I prefer to work out of Mind the Gap, because Mind the Gap gives you all the information necessary for this. But very important, you must know what it is, what contribute to each one of them, what can we do to correct each one of them. If you can do that and you can interpret graphs and can draw graphs, you should get your 25 marks in human impact. I thank you. Bye-bye.